Acapulco, Mexico. This is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. And I've got a multi-returning guest coming back on. Is a good friend of mine, Luis Fernando Mises, coming in from Tejas, as we call it down here in Mexico, or Texas up there in the land of the free. And I want to have Luis back on. Of course, he's coming back to speak at Anarchapulco. We'll talk a little bit about that a little later. But I really wanted to have him back on because I see that they've been going after, when I talk about the criminal mafia organization that's got a sort of a monopoly on violence up there in the land of the free. The U.S. government has been going after Kratom again, and I continue to use Kratom myself, and we'll talk a little bit about this. And I find it to be quite amazing, and I've heard from so many people it's been such a wonderful thing in their life, and so it makes complete and absolute sense that the U.S. government, which is mostly controlled to certain extents by people like the pharmaceutical industrial complex, the military industrial complex, the central banksters, all those sort of people. The pharmaceutical industrial complex does not want anyone to know about Kratom because just like with cannabis, it really takes away most of their business. I think between cannabis and Kratom, Luis, I don't know about you, but that would pretty much wipe out almost all the need for most pharmaceuticals. Wouldn't you agree?
I think that I would mostly agree. I think that that's one of the reasons why they're going after it, and it's one of the families that actually have the patent on hydrocodone and oxycontin that are heavily lobbying the FDA to go after this and turn it into a Schedule 1, just like marijuana and other substances. And this is actually very harmless. It's super harmless. Actually, there's no recorded deaths from Kratom usage. There's people that use Kratom and other things, and they have done some crazy stupid shit and they have died, but not to the knowledge of just having done Kratom. So that's like a huge important piece to mention, that is very, very safe. The worst thing that you can do if you overdose is that, just like with anything, okay, this is not an opiate or opioid, but it acts like one on your body. It goes to the opiate receptors of your body. So you may feel a little nauseous, and that's about it, but you're gonna be like happy and like blissful, and no pain and no migraines and no discomforts. It's even stronger pain management than cannabis, and that is saying a lot right there.
Yeah, and as we know, things like Oxycontin and all these sort of things, they're incredibly addictive, incredibly dangerous drugs that, for example, as one example, my mom came down from Canada where they have socialized medical care, so she was pretty much dying up there in Canada. She couldn't get anything that she needed or anything, and the actual service was like so third world communist level. So I brought her down to Mexico, where it's a lot freer and a lot more first world than Canada in many ways. And so she came in here, and we had like round the clock nurses come to the house and all that sort of stuff. But when we went to the doctor, and I said, okay, she's been prescribed these chemicals, and I gave him the list, and he was in shock. He could not believe it. And he said he's seen like some bad ones before, but he couldn't believe it. She was on like 50 different pharmaceuticals, and he said about half of them really counteract the other half of them. So it was like almost like pointless having her on most of these. He cut her down to like 4 or 5 from 50, and one of them he said, oh, by the way, we don't have Oxycontin here. It's illegal in Mexico. And I said, oh, okay, so that's like a painkiller, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so what can we replace it with? He's like, well, actually, there's not really anything that strong that you can get in Mexico. And if she's been on it for a while, she's going to go through heroin-like withdrawal symptoms and try to kill herself for about a week. And I was like, what? And I was like scurrying, trying to find anyone who could get Oxycontin for my mom, because I didn't want her to go through these horrible withdrawal things. But it turns out she was only on it for a few months, so she hadn't got completely addicted to it, which most people who use it after a few months are completely addicted, the same as heroin or anything else like that. And the doctor even said he had 2 other Americans who came down and didn't realize there was an Oxycontin in Mexico, and they couldn't get it, and they both tried to commit suicide from their hotel patio because they went that crazy. So this is what they want you to be on if you have pain. And then there's Kratom, which I've done myself. You just feel really nice, and I gave it to my mom, and she was like, yeah, I feel really good, and I have no pain anymore, and it's got none of the downsides of Oxycontin. It's pretty crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just like crazy is like really, really crazy that these people are willing to take away the power of pain management from normal people at a very extremely decent cost. Yeah, like if you're thinking about Oxycontin, hydrocodone, those guys are super expensive, mostly having to be subsidized by some sort of insurance. And then you have Kratom that's sold for like $10 an ounce, and it has like 9 doses in 1 ounce, like something that will last you for a long time for super, super cheap. So these guys are trying to take the plant medicine away from us, and that in itself is crazy, it's criminal.
Yeah, they did the same with cannabis, of course. I remember there was a, who was it? It was the vice president criminal, Joe Biden, I believe, that someone went up. I think it was him. It was one of those criminals, either president or vice president, someone criminal like that. But a guy who had, I think it was multiple sclerosis or one of those things where you're pretty bad and you're in a wheelchair, went up to him and he said, "Hey, Vice President Biden," or whatever. He actually treated him with some respect, which I have no idea why, but he did. And he said, "Would you please help me to make cannabis legal because it actually takes away my seizures?" And I think it was Biden, it was him or one other of these politicians said, "Well, no, I can't." Maybe it was Mitt Romney, it was one of them. But he said, I don't want to do that, but we are making it so there's synthetic cannabis that, of course, is all patented by the pharmaceuticals and costs a lot more and all that kind of stuff. And it turns out that this pharmaceutical cannabis has killed like dozens and dozens and dozens of people, if not hundreds. I don't even know how many. And it's caused so many problems, so many horrible experiences, whereas cannabis itself, in the history of the world, as far as I know, and I think as far as anyone knows, has never killed one person. So it's very similar. You have the natural plant, and of course you're a huge person into all kinds of plant medicines, including things like ayahuasca and peyote and all kinds of things. And I am as well from doing them myself, so I know how wonderful they are. They want to take away all these plant medicines, which you can actually just grow in your patio, and cost almost nothing. And they want you to get all these patented pharmaceuticals. It's a really criminal, absolute criminal thing they're doing, and it's really destroying a lot of lives. And so many people, as I mentioned, have said that Kratom has pretty much saved their lives. I know that you've just personally seen numerous people that have said wonderful things about Kratom, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have actually helped dozens of people to get off of opiates and really hardcore pain killers. And they've moved to Kratom, which is a much safer, much cheaper way to deal with those discomforts. And just because I just like to be able to tell people what I'm doing, I push myself with the extracts, because a lot of people say, well, take normal stuff but never take the extracts. I was pushing myself on the gold reserve extract, like taking almost 2 grams a day for 2 weeks, just to really feel like what it will be like. And the worst thing that I got was restless leg syndrome, at the end of the 2 weeks. I didn't want to kill myself, I didn't want to die. I was pushing my limit, and that's a thing that you're supposed to only take about 1/3 of a gram. So I was taking 2 grams a day, and the only thing I got was that. So it's not really something that is going to harm you. It's not something that's going to be super as bad as the alternatives that are trying to push, like you said, the synthetics. And this is something that's pretty important, that the legislators are so really stupid that in some states, and for example Tennessee, they say that Kratom is opioid synthetic. So just that in itself lets you know that they have no fucking clue what they're talking about. And they're trying to regulate it because they think that that's what's best for you and me. So I cannot sell this healing plant to people that live in Tennessee because we may end up in jail or something. So just that in itself is, as you were saying, clinically crazy. And as far as other teaching plants, I'm just doing a water fast for a few days, because I'm actually doing Aya tomorrow. So it's the whole idea of really cleansing, working on yourself to recreate yourself. I think it's having the ability to do that, and not having somebody else tell you what you can or cannot put in your body. That's preposterous. Why? Who are they to tell us that we can or cannot do certain things?
Oh, they're criminals. That's all there is to it. This is very evil kind of stuff that they're doing. So with the Kratom, I haven't heard too much, but I did see on the interwebs, I saw in passing that it looks like they're really going after it again. I remember the last time I talked to you, it looked like they were doing that, and then something happened. It kind of went away for a while. Maybe you can kind of update us on what exactly they're doing at this moment in time.
Yes, absolutely. So it was about a year and a half ago, and they were trying to turn it into Schedule 1 just for research purposes, and they were going to bring it back into freedom 6 months later, or some kind of crazy shit like that. But as everybody knows, nothing is more perpetual than a government program. It will not go away. It's just like a bad habit. So what happened is, and this is something interesting as anarchists, like we actually got together and fought for it. Just the same way that here in Arlington, Texas, we got rid of the red lights cameras through caucus. What we did was we actually did voting and a petition to be able to get rid of these things, create awareness, and we got off of the harm's way for a little bit. But now they're trying again. I'm seeing that happening again. So I think what's important is to realize that yes, we are anarchists. Yes, we are principled people. But it takes to really be in the belly of the beast and fight and get our hands dirty and create means to prevent these criminals from taking our stuff away from us. So that's what's happening again. They're trying again because there's just a lot of money pressuring them into making it illegal so they can keep the name, the patent, the blueprint of this plant so they can use it for other purposes.
Yeah, that's one of the really evil sort of things about government, and why people don't realize this is what's so bad about it. And even like the founding fathers, which sounds like so cultish, but of the U.S., they warned about it. I think one of them warned that if we create this government, about every 25 years or so, you're going to have to get into a violent, bloody conflict to get rid of it. And it's like, looking back, it's like, why would you create this thing? But they were sort of doing who knows? Maybe they hadn't caught on to voluntarism or anarchism at that point. That's one of the things with government is that it's always there, and it's always got those like hundreds of those criminals in Congress just constantly working. And so they'll try to get something through. And if enough people kind of find out about it and get angry enough, they'll have to back away a little bit. They can't just totally force this stuff upon everybody if the people don't want it. But what happens is they keep everyone busy, working their jobs, paying their tax, so they can pay their taxes. Most people have to work like 2 jobs in the land of the free now to be able to afford to even, live anymore with all the inflation from the central bank, the communist-style central bank, and the government with all the regulations. Most people can hardly even afford to do anything, and so people are just busy, and so the Congress will try to put it through. If enough people find out about it and try to fight back, they'll have to go back a little bit, and that's what's happened with Kratom. But what they'll do is they'll just try it again a little bit later, and one of those times they might get it through, and once it's through, it's over. Like, you can't get rid of it, and that's exactly what they do with every single thing that they do and that's why government's so bad. And that's why, if it was your normal life, people are pretty decent at sort of like, they're okay at managing like their house, right? Like their family and their house. They're okay, like not great at it usually, but they're okay. Like they kind of like know, okay, I can do this much or that much, and this family member is not going to like it or whatever. But once it gets too much bigger outside of that control, most people just don't have the ability or brain capacity or the time to be watching this super evil thing that's passing all these laws that really affect your lives. And that's really what the one of the main issues with government is that you would, if it was your own business, like for example, if you have your own little small business, say it's a restaurant, you go in there every day and you watch it and you look at it and you make sure everything's running well. People don't do that with government. You can't. You just don't have the time, and it's too big to even look over, and who are you going to watch or anything like that. So it gets out of control very quickly, and it's just very unfortunate that we still have governments. Hopefully they'll be gone soon, and that's hopefully what cryptocurrencies are going to help us to do. But in the meantime, is there anything that people out there who like Kratom, or even just freedom lovers, is there any way that they can put pressure on anything to make it so that this doesn't get listed as I guess what they call a Schedule 1?
Yeah, just before that, there were two things that I thought were pretty interesting that you mentioned. One of them is like even George Washington grew poppy plants in the White House. and that in itself is amazing. Like you're able to just cut a little bit of a plant and get the juice that comes out of it and eat it, and you have your pain management right there and then. And the other one is, the price of freedom is complete vigilance. So one has to be truly always right there fighting for one's liberty, because they're always trying to get it away from us. And that's kind of what you're saying. So what can we do? The most important thing, I think, is education, like being able to know what it is and know what it does and know how it can help a lot of people. It helps them emancipate themselves from pain and from discomfort and from other things. So being able to tell people this exists, because it's kind of funny. About a year ago when they tried, half of the people that bought from me did not know what it was, but because of the vast majority of my friends are anarchists, they're also kind of contrarian, so they were like, oh, Kratom, the government's against it, sell me 3 kilos. I don't know what it is, but if the government's going against it, I must want some of that. So that was funny. So that's another thing, maybe trying it out, seeing how it can help. And for as silly as it may sound coming from an anarchist, I think that it's really important to push that petition, because that's what helped us out last time. And again, the price of freedom is perpetual vigilance. We need to keep pushing for that.
Is there any place that people can go to sign this petition? Do you know the webpage?
I don't know it by heart, but I can send it to you and we can put it into links down below, because I think that's pretty important. And again, just the entire thing of education is very, very important, and knowing that it's not just something like heroin, for instance, which I have nothing against heroin and I've never done it. And even if it was legal tomorrow, I doubt that half of the people watching this would even try to do it, So that's put aside. I think that just knowing that it can help a lot of people and how it can really take away the power from the state to dictate what you can or cannot do with your life, that in itself is a worthy battle. So yeah, the petition, and maybe just like sharing links of how powerful this plant is, and that is even more powerful than cannabis for pain management.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you know anyone who has a lot of pain for whatever reason, definitely make sure, send them this video. If they're not really into all this anarchist stuff, it might kind of turn them off, but let them know at least about Kratom in one way or another. As I mentioned, it really helped my mom dramatically. And I have to say, Luis, I've been using it, but I've been using it in a rather unorthodox fashion in the last month or so. I got the idea, a lot of people out there know that I like to do coffee enemas in the morning. And I got to say, like, they are the best part of my day every single day. And they've gotten so much better now. It's actually gone crazy because what I've done is I put a ton of herbs that I've got from like Dr. Morse, all kinds of like every kind of herb you can think of, all liquid form. I put that in, but I also add in some cannabis oil, which is amazing. And I also add in some Kratom. And I don't know what the mix is or why it works or what's going on. It's the best part of my day. It's about a half hour to an hour of almost being out of my body. It's not really like I'm high, because I know like what it feels like to be high on various things, including cannabis and stuff. It's not like I'm like high. I'm just like so relaxed. It's like I'm relaxed on like a molecular level. Like I just did it about an hour and a half ago, and I really had a hard time coming to this interview. I was so relaxed. I didn't feel like even walking over here. And it's not like I'm like feeling all drugged up or anything. It's just like I'm so relaxed. Like I feel so good. Like, oh, I have to go walk over there. Oh man, I feel so good just sitting here right now. It's not like even high or anything. It's just like I just feel so good. And while I'm doing this coffee enema, I also sort of meditate. It's not really like I even try to meditate. I'm so relaxed that I almost go into like a meditative state. And I really just kind of go out of my mind completely for quite a while, and it's amazing. It's like a really deep, intense meditation that I end up doing every day without even really having to try, and it feels amazing. So I've been adding this into my coffee enema, so I really like recommend for people out there, first of all, do the coffee enema. It's amazing. Like, it is so, I feel so good when I do it. And I think there's a couple of reasons I think I've looked into it a little bit. One is that, like, you get the coffee in, and it kind of goes, you lie on your right side, and it goes into your liver, and I think it cleans your blood to a certain extent. That's what I think's going on. So you're getting, like, this blood cleaning, which is amazing. So all this kind of crap that's been in your blood, it's all getting taken out. It's amazing. And then Of course, when you release the enema, you're releasing all the stuff out of your colon. And of course, there's a lot of built up toxins that are just sitting around in your colon. That's all gone too. So you're cleaning your blood, you're cleaning your colon. And then on top of that, when you add the cannabis and the kratom, I'm telling you, it's the best thing. Like, if someone's tried to take that away from me, I would be very angry. And luckily, I don't live in the land of the free, so everything down here is pretty much, you can get whatever you want, no problems, and it's just really no problem. So I can even get the cannabis oil. I'm actually going to put a link in the notes below. If anyone wants to get cannabis oil while they're at Anarchapulco, I do know a person, and it's where I get my cannabis oil. Now, I want to be careful. I don't want to say who the person is, and I'm just going to give out an email address. If you want, you can email them. I think they're going to be selling 2-ounce things of cannabis oil, which cures cancer and a number of other things. It's one of the healthiest things in the world to have, as Luis mentioned, is cannabis and kratom are like the two amazing things. And I think it's about $150 for a 2-ounce sort of vial of it. It's sort of cannabis oil mixed with coconut oil. I put that into my enema. And I think this person is willing to drop off the cannabis oil to your room or have it delivered to your room at the Princess Hotel. And so I want to be careful about who it is or whatever. Although we are in Mexico, so we should be totally fine because everything's pretty much legal down here anyway. All drugs are basically legal for personal ownership or whatever you want to call it. Not that it even matters because the cops, they're never around, and if they are, you just go to the bar and you buy them a drink and then they go away. It's awesome. Like, I love Mexico. So the email address, if you want the cannabis oil, is fullspectrumoil@protonmail.com. I'll put it in the links down below. And Luis, you'll also be coming to Anarchapulco. So if you want to get your cannabis oil and your kratom, come to Anarchapulco. Like, what a great mix. Bring your enema bag and do some coffee enemas right here in Anarchapulco with me, not directly, not in the same room or anything, but you can do it all. And so, Luis, you'll be bringing down some kratom, I hope. And is there any way that people could even buy some off you now and get it delivered in the U.S., or if they're coming to Anarchapulco, maybe they can get it here as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's like what you said was hilarious in some parts, and we should have like an enema party going on. Emancipatedhuman.com. That's where I have my shop, and gladly, happy to be the kratom of the dollar vigilante that he uses in his enemas. That's very exciting. I've never used it as an enema, but actually, that's a way to get like really high doses without getting. Without getting an upset stomach, so that's pretty smart actually. So emancipatedhuman.com, and that's where I have the shop. Very top says buy kratom, and if anybody wants it, like to take it beforehand, I will happily ship it quickly. I can do 2 days, I can do overnight, whatever is necessary. To I guess 45 states. I will not send to those where it's illegal because I do enjoy my freedom. And I think it's only like Tennessee and Vermont, especially. Yeah. But we're happy to do that, and I will certainly bring some to beautiful Anarchapulco.
That's great. I should point out, you said that you can do high doses via enema. I should point out how much I do, just so people don't do too much if they're going to try it. With the cannabis oil, really, if you take a full dropper, you barely feel it. If you, I'm talking about taking it sublingually. If you take 2 full droppers, you'll definitely be like high on cannabis. I put in about 1 dropper, or even sometimes less, like half to 1 dropper. So it's not enough that I would get like really high if I was taking it orally, but that's what I put in. And then with the kratom, I actually use your liquid kratom. I don't know what brand that is. Is that Gold, or what is that?
That's just a liquid extract. Yes, sir.
Okay, so I do about a half to a 3/4 of a dropper. What would you suggest? What kind of amounts would you suggest people take in terms of the dropper if they get the liquid for various things?
Yeah, normally I just tell them to take like a third of or a half of a dropper. That's normally enough. There was one time that I was sick as a dog. I had like flu-like symptoms. It wasn't like really, pain or that kind of stuff. But I was so like pissed about it. I just went to the cabinet and I grabbed it and I just did 2 big squirts. And I was like, it released all the congestion that I had, and that was pretty interesting because it has nothing to do with like flu-like symptoms, but like I could breathe like it was nobody's business, and I was just so happy and ecstatic, but I could not sleep. That was the one bad side effect. So I mean, if you want just a little extra energy and to be able to breathe better, especially during the winter time, that should work like a charm. Just a half of a dropper. That's all it takes.
Yeah, it's amazing what kratom, cannabis, and just things like fasting can do. You can pretty much cure almost anything that you can imagine. I'm talking cancer and everything, just doing this stuff. This is why they don't want you to know about any of this stuff, including fasting as well. And Luis is fasting right now, so he knows the benefits of fasting as well. Those three things that I just mentioned, as I said, can pretty much cure almost everything. Luis, I'm curious, have you ever done kratom with cannabis oil? Like just ingested it?
No, I have not done both together.
Okay, because I'm wondering if it has like a weird thing, because I've done kratom by itself. So for people out there who are wondering, like if you don't have problems with pain and they just might want it as sort of like a boost of energy and stuff like that, if I know I've got a long day ahead of me and I'm kind of low on energy a little bit, I'll take some kratom and I'll be just buzzing along like for most of the day. It's great. But if I take kratom with cannabis oil, which I've done both in an enema and I've also taken it orally, it actually almost makes me sleepy. And so I think that's why with the enema, I get like into this like zone of complete relaxation when I mix the two. It's kind of interesting. So I just wanted to throw that out there that maybe if you mix kratom with cannabis oil, you get like a real... So the next time, if you take it for when you're sick, if you take the kratom and you're feeling really good, but you can't sleep, try taking some cannabis oil and see if that works.
Yeah, I should do that. I should do that definitely. So I'll have to buy from your friend, or I can just make my own. By golly, why not?
Yeah. So, as usual, like most of the stuff, like these doctors go for like 8 years of doctor school and come out and all they know is how to kill people and poison people. It's like, I just kind of come across these like cures and these amazing things like, this is the way the world's supposed to be, but they want to keep it out of everyone's hands. It would, if cannabis oil and kratom were just well known and used by most of the public, most pharmaceutical companies would not exist anymore, and most disease and sickness would not be anywhere near what the level is at right now. So great to have you on, Luis. You're going to be speaking again in Anarchapulco. Looking forward to that. And I should just mention one more time, if you do want to get, and I have no connection with this person, don't even contact me again about this. If you want to try to contact them, they know that I'm going to be mentioning it on this video, and they have made a special email address. It's fullspectrumoil@protonmail.com. I think they will be open to delivering it to your room at the Princess Hotel if you're at Anarchapulco. So if you need some cannabis oil, I know it's hard to get in some places in the U.S. because it is land of the free. Check that out. And of course, Luis, why don't you just mention again how people can contact you if they want to get some kratom?
Yeah, absolutely. EmancipatedHuman.com. That's where I have my store. Or just email me, emancipatedhuman@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook as Emancipated Human, or Luis Fernando Mises, which I'm still perma-banned, even with a VNP, because I like to push the buttons of the powers that were, and they keep banning me every time I come in. But I am just like, I have access. I know my way. So I will be there answering messages on Emancipated Human or Luis Fernando Mises on Facebook.
That's great. I'll see you down here in a few months. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, share, especially with people out there who have problems with pain, maybe addictions to Oxycontin. Kratom can get you off of that. All kinds of things like that. Definitely share this around. And we'll put the petition information in the notes below. Please, if you're unfortunately, if you unfortunately live in the land of the free in the USSA, try to fill out that form to get a little bit of freedom up there. I know it's just crazy how unfree it is. But, as Luis said, you do have to take action. You do have to do things, even as anarchists. And I know a lot of anarchists will say, I don't want to beg for permission from the government. It's like, well, signing your name on a petition isn't breaking the nap, and it can enable some more freedom in the U.S. So I don't think we should be against that. I think you'd agree with that, right, Luis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like, I will not vote for somebody to be in office. That's absolutely preposterous. And I think that's consistent with the ideology of freedom that we hold. But I think that just allowing them to take our stuff from us is kind of even I mean, I don't want to say it, but it's pretty stupid, you know? So it's kind of like with cannabis. They took it away from us, just like the medicinal purpose of cocaine as well, the coca plant. It used to be a medicinal thing, and now they're wanting to take kratom away from us. And now how hard is it, or has been, to get cannabis back into the free market? And when they give it back to us, they give it back to us with a chain attached, with a bunch of taxes, with a bunch of legislations, and not just anybody can grow it. There's only certain amounts of people that have certain permission slips from the state that can do it. So I don't want that to happen with kratom. I want for everybody to be able to access it at very, very low cost, very, very safely and efficiently. And if all it takes is fighting against these assholes and just say, hey, you know what, this is ours, and it's not going away. You know, just like really taking the bull by the horns and just saying, you know, that we're not going to let you take it in whatever form that takes. You know, we have done a lot of things here with the Libertarian Party locally, and there's a lot of things that can be done without necessarily having to vote somebody into office, just by pressuring. Just like the bad guy said, lobbying, you know, we're counter lobbying. That's just, you know, the kind of the game that we're playing. And I think that it is continuously consistent because we're not voting for somebody else. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And one thing that I think I failed to mention was people that are actually dealing with heroin addiction and like just other addictions in itself, even cocaine or any like big heavy things. Kratom will help them, and that's another reason why the state's against Kratom, because as we all know, the opiate epidemic is subsidized and funded by the U.S. government and taken care of by the U.S. Army. So because of these guys have all that monopoly, and then we have the cure, they want to take the cure too, so they will have the problem and the solution in their hands. We cannot let that happen. So I think it's extremely important that we don't let them take that away from us. So, you know, it's just like so nice and rewarding to be able to see and help people that are trying to get off of addictions with a plant that, you know, and a lot of people say, well, you're just taking one addiction for another. No, it's not. Kratom will not do the things that heroin has done to people, or meth, or any of those really big, you know, heavy things. So it's not taking one thing for another. It's something that will actually help people wean off of the bad things, heavy things, and then be able to have a life again. You know, like 4 or 5 people that have actually helped with heroin addictions that now have work again, that now are able to feed their families again, and they're looking healthy again. I mean, that in itself is a huge victory that, because of this plant, you know, we've been able to achieve. So I think it's silly to say, well, you know, I'm not gonna participate in those stupid games. It's not participating in stupid games, it's actually saving our brothers and sisters from destroying their lives, you know?
Well put. I couldn't put it any better way. So please sign the petition down below. Do whatever else you can to get out this information. That's the other big part about freedom is, you know, as long as a lot of other people seem to want to have governments and stuff like that, we have to get out as much information as possible. That's the other way that we can wake people up, because that's really what it is. People are asleep and propagandized and brainwashed into things like statism, and the way that we can get, one of the ways we can get them out of that is by spreading information. So please help to do that by sharing this video and any other way that you can. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
In a world where Antifa riots in the city streets, cops rage out of control, and the leader of the free world is a fat-ass casino owner, one event stands alone to make anarchy great again.
I actually love humanity. That is why I'm an anarchist.
Backwards in the building like we the ceiling, we illin'. No matter who find it appealing, I'm here and I got a feeling that we'll be dealing a lot of pain with a penicillin get drilled in your head. That we are monsters and yeah, we come from the slums, and for months we've been pumped, but for once I am now comfortable. I want to grow, I want some more success, and I want to know that greatness can't be brushed, can't be lost, so face the bus. Feel free to hate on us, we lace them up. Dudes, we done paid them up. Keep snakes away from us and safe from us, you might wanna be. Remember when clowns used to make fun of me and that they wanna be me, see me and they run at me. I'm gonna be the greatest, yeah I wanna be, but I am not the one to be the fakest for the sake of being played. I'm here, like I never left, said so hell. Nah, cause I can't just fail, so just prepare your ears, it'll get for real. Okay, from here, we will never take the sale, it's grind time. My mind and my thoughts, my highs and my faults, my wins and my loss. When will I fall off? It's a chance for me, you are now listening to Veracity. Yeah.
Fuck the media.
media, fuck the banks, fuck drone strikes, fuck tanks, fuck hunger, fuck war, fuck ignoring of the poor, fuck the left, fuck the right, fuck the government. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.